Why did it change?
Andrew can't see himself no longer.
Everything has changed.
I can only see like half of my face.
The moment you started the episode, I can't.
It's all Josh. We're recording this. Welcome and hello, everybody, to the Greater Meaning Podcast. My name is Nathan, and I am joined today with my co-hosts, Andrew.
Hello, I can't see myself.
And there's also Joshua.
I can see both of us.
And today we are going to be discussing the book of the Bible called Joshua.
Well, specifically, we're 3 or 8 chapters into the book of Joshua. In the last episode, we covered the fall of the city of Jericho and the defeat at the hand of the state or the city Ai after there was a secret sin discovered by Achan in the camp of the Israelites. Remember that all the items were supposed to be
Thieving
devoted.
Achan.
Huh?
It's a thieving Achan.
Yes. He was taking the things that were actually devoted to the Lord. Anything of value was supposed to either be devoted to the house of the Lord or everything was supposed to be destroyed and killed with fire. But we see that after he stole, hid, the blessing of the Lord was no longer upon the Israelites, and it caused a defeat. Whereas they had a massive victory with Jericho, they go on to the city of Ai, and it's a lot smaller. They only sent out about 3,000 of their 600,000 man army, and 36 of them die, and they're sent in retreat, which is definitely not what you want.
Well, their first plan of attack was, hey, this should be no problem.
Yeah, Josh doesn't even go.
Guys out. Yeah, Josh doesn't even go. He just sends 3,000 guys. It's like, you know what, you guys take care of it. And when he hears the news of the loss, he tore all of his clothes off. Like,
yeah,
out of
he's
just
dramatic.
sheer. I don't know if in his mind it was just out of sheer distraught or just confusion. Like, how could we lose this?
No,
but we'll see. We'll see. Like, compared to the numbers of what he's about to send out to what he sent out before, there's like a little bit we are not going to fail this time. 100%. Whether God is with us or not, impossible for us to fail.
Well, I mean, it's not true. It is possible for them to fail. That's kind of
I
the
know.
whole point. Is that they righted their wrong. They rooted out the sin that was in their camp. After the discovery of Achan's sin, they removed him, his tent, all of the belongings. They stoned, burned, and then piled stones upon them.
They fed him stones while they threw stones. They put him on top of stones, and then they buried him in stones.
They righted their wrong. Stones. And they righted themselves before the Lord, cleansing themselves, repenting as a whole, as a unit, and being rectified. Now we see that the Lord comes to Joshua, and he speaks to him. He tells him right before they're going to go again. Nathan, if you would read the first couple verses of Joshua chapter 8 to see kind of how God finds Joshua and the Israelites after this cleansing, if you will.
How many verses?
Just a couple.
So that 2?
Yeah.
Now the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. Take all the people of war with you, and arise, go up to Ai. See, I have given into your hand the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. And he shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king. Only its spoil and its cattle you shall take as booty for yourselves. Lay an ambush for the city behind it."
Why do you say booty like that? Booty.
I now know why they were so adamant on capturing this city. Because the previous city, they didn't get anything.
But this city,
and now God's like, you guys can keep it all. Other than
they didn't know that the last time they went to attack. They just went to conquer the city, but they didn't say they get to keep anything. God is specifically instructing them that this time
with Jericho. What are you talking about? There was an obvious don't keep.
No, I'm talking about the last time they attacked AI. This is the second time they're going after AI.
Oh yeah, last time they attacked AI. Well, actually, you know what? You are right, but not in the right way. what if
Okay.
what if they just assumed that they were like, what if they just assumed that God's favor would just continue on, and that the other city was just going to be a super easy city, but maybe they weren't able to keep the spoils of that city either.
Well, I mean, I don't understand what you're saying.
Like when they attacked Jericho, God said you can't keep any of it. You have to burn it all. Their idea, probably with AI as well, was to go and burn it all, destroy it all. God never gave them like a directive that, hey, you guys can keep the spoils. Now he's telling them, you guys can keep the spoils. So
Yeah.
maybe this was also in their benefit as well, because earlier, what if they would have won and destroyed everything, and then what they would have? It's like they lost earlier, but because they lost, now they get to keep everything that they were going to originally destroy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not really something we should harp upon. I mean, that's
harp upon it, man. Harp it, harp it.
So he's saying it's in their benefit that they lost
didn't,
the first time, because they wouldn't have kept all that booty.
The benefit of them winning,
and now they do.
The benefit of their defeat, if you will, if there is a benefit to sinning and losing the grace and the protection of the Lord, was that the sin was discovered. I think it's something to think about that we don't think about a lot, is that oftentimes we won't know, like God will use a defeat or some type of pain in your life to reveal to you that you have something in your life you need to remove. You have something in your life you need to repent of. That defeat that they had at the hand of AI led them to go, what's going on? And it led them back to God and led Joshua back to his face. He was expecting to be like, he didn't even go with them. Like we said earlier, he sent out a fraction of the armies of his people and against this supposedly small city state, and they were completely destroyed and sent into retreat. And by that, they recognize that we need to look at ourselves and see what happened. Because obviously we have the numbers, we have the momentum from a victory, but we didn't have God on our side. So that's what was revealed. It wasn't that now they get to keep the booty. It's like they went without confirming with God either.
Yeah.
This is now God, after they've repented, went back before the Lord, they waited more on his. Remember, even with Jericho, Joshua was looking over the city and God came to him and gave him instructions saying, do this and do this. But now they kind of were like, oh, we got it. We'll get it from here. And we'll see that's kind of unfortunately like a repeating theme in the Israelites and Joshua.
They get cocky.
Well, yeah, that you see that Joshua, we think a lot of the times like, oh, this is the new generation. This is the second generation. They're better than the first generation. They don't have as many flaws. And it's true. They're definitely not as stiff-necked as that first generation that died in the wilderness.
Stiff-necked.
But they still have significant issues that are going to cause problems later on in the story. So they go on. They're instructed by the Lord. And what's awesome is that God gives them, like he did with Jericho, but he gives them very specific instructions. He tells them to lay an ambush in the city and put people behind it. And what's funny is, like you said, Joshua gets up and instead of sending 3,000 people, he sends 10 times as much this time.
Hey, just add another zero to it.
Yeah.
I think we got it this time, guys.
Let's do 30,000 people against what eventually we're going to learn was like 12,000 people. So there's like, yeah, I don't care. We're going to win this one no matter what.
You think they were fighting with swords and stuff?
I don't know, Josh. No, Nathan, what do you think they were fighting with?
Like spears, swords, sticks, rocks.
I think they had like swords, yeah. Because I mean, Joshua specifically has a
like
spear.
Their armor and like all that stuff.
Well, in that period of time,
Actually, they had pretty good armor.
Like in Near Eastern times, there was like leather and metal, like woven armor. They had helmets. Yeah. They had, shields, swords. It was pretty. I wouldn't say advanced, but it was definitely like enough to where if 30,000 people are coming at your city, you're scared. And the way you die, like you think 36 people dying, right? That why would they care? Like 3,000, 600,000 person army, 36 is very minuscule. But think about how they're dying. I remember listening to Dan Carlin episodes on when he did like he briefly covered the Persian and Darius the First, and
what a great
but he
speaker.
talked about how violent of a death it is to die by like sword in these battles. Like imagine these people running into each other. Like people would literally get killed, getting crushed in between just the massive weight of the two mobs of people. And
yes, but I saw someone else speak on it, and I heard Dan Carlin talk about it too, that it wasn't exactly how we see it in the movies. It wasn't, a lot of the times, it wasn't just two mobs rushing each other and that's it. It was coordinated attacks of different groups, and there was a line. There was always a front line, but then there would be lines behind it ready to go in. It wasn't just everybody just shoving in face to face as hard as they can. It was a lot of times it was coordinated, but
well, yeah, just like here in Joshua, like he will take a portion of his army that he'll go out with, about 5,000 men, and God tells him literally to put them in ambush, and he places them behind the city. And it says that he goes with these people
hiding behind them.
And well, he stays with the regular people. So there's one really interesting thing I want to bring out, because the next couple episodes of the podcast, we're going to cover some military engagements. A lot of the rest of the book of Joshua is the conquest of Canaan and battles and strategies and specific things. But there are little details that I found that are really beautiful in the story, especially in this first chapter 8, this first battle against Ai, where they finally defeat it. Joshua has instructions from the Lord, but God also allows him, with his expertise, to kind of handle the specifics. He's like, you should lay him in ambush in the city behind it. But Joshua, specifically, he handles the coordination of the how many and where and how. And I think that's really cool. One thing I did want to mention too is that something that's repeated a lot is that Joshua is mentioned. If you read, Nathan, I want you to read verses 9 and 10.
Joshua therefore sent them out, and they went to lie in ambush and stayed between Bethel and Ai on the west side of Ai, but Joshua lodged that night among the people. Then Joshua rose up early in the morning and mustered the people and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people to Ai. And all the people of war who were with him went up and drew near, and they came before the city and camped on the north side of Ai. Now a valley lay between them and Ai.
You're good. You're 8 or 9 and 10. That's all you needed to read.
I read 11.
There's a specific point I wanted to make in this portion before the battle that you see in Joshua, because God kind of comes in the beginning of this chapter. He encourages Joshua. And two things I noticed about Joshua as a character is one,
he rose up early in the morning.
Well, that's the other. But the first is that he lodged that night amongst the people, and him as a leader being somewhere, whereas first he didn't even go out with these 3,000. He was kind of like Josh said, they got cocky and they're thinking they're good. They just have to send out whoever. This time he's like, I'm not going to allow this failing to this. If they fail again, the devastating blow to the confidence
he would
of the
have
Israelites,
no more clothes, because he would be ripping everything.
He would be completely crushed. But the act of him actually going so far as to stay amongst the people, lodge, he doesn't stay somewhere separate. He doesn't think he's somebody special. It's like that trope where the general is one with the other people and encouraging. And it says that he musters them. He's the one that he rose up early. That's the other thing. He's always ready to go. It's something you constantly see with Joshua. I didn't notice that with any of the other patriarchs. Well, you see specific stories where like Abraham rose up early to go sacrifice his son. But Joshua is constantly like, he's very hands-on. He's very devoted, and if we're talking
about his character, those types of people in your life, the people that are super intense, do not accept defeat for anything. And if they do lose, they will let you know how they feel about their loss. But they're also the type of people, like, I imagine Joshua probably would have been the guy to have created a certain race back in the day. It's not called the Spartan race, but the Israelite
What do you mean he created he would have created a race? Like, what? Explain.
You ever hear this? You ever
Like for
hear
all
the
warriors too?
You ever hear the
Arise,
Spartan
men.
race, like the whole obstacle course type of thing, where like the super intense people will go and do it? I imagine Joshua is like that really intense guy that wakes up in the morning, does his like 25-mile jog, then his 30-mile sprints. Yeah, cold
He's
plunges.
one of those guy like inspirational, like motivational, business.
A guy that's on another level. And to even try to compare yourself to him, you're nothing. You're nothing compared to the way that man lives his life. And maybe that's also why he stood out amongst so many, is because he made it a reason to stick out, because he was that guy to wake up early in the morning. And I feel like that is a thing when you say about somebody like that guy wakes up really early. He's an early riser on behalf of someone's character. That means that is someone that is willing to go a bit extra to get the job done when others, like, they're out of the normal, right? So that's how I see Joshua.
Early risers tend to do that to skip traffic too.
That's the only reason. They just want to get to work first so
they're just smarter people.
They skip that traffic. I could attest to being an early riser to skip traffic.
It's just an interesting thing to notice about Joshua. Like it speaks a lot to who he was. Like he gave everything 100%, and he was also not above anybody. He was truly a servant and he was a leader from the front. He wasn't
Playing
somebody
Jenga
from
with him would be a nightmare.
Or a leader from the back.
Playing what?
Jenga. Jenga with Joshua would be a nightmare.
Well, how does that relate to his leadership capabilities?
He has really good
that man
at poking blocks.
he will.
Joshua, explain.
He knows how to poke a block without the rest of the blocks.
Joshua
what
just
does that
kind
have
of
to do with leadership?
He seems like a sore loser. Okay,
first of
he
all,
just doesn't lose. He doesn't like the
great leader I know
still
is
has
really
nothing
good
to
at
do with
Jenga.
Jenga.
Jenga is the barometer for a great leader today.
Why?
If you can't be a man I want to follow unless you can beat me in Jenga.
If you can see those loose blocks, then you can see all the chinks in the enemy's army.
I test the man's judgment by Jenga.
Okay? Jenga, dude. Jenga.
It's funny. Josh literally sent a video of us like 7 or 8 years ago of us playing Jenga and me losing, getting mad, and then smacking the camera out of his hand. So I'm not a good Jenga guy.
You're not a
no, but you are a
Joshua.
That is a Joshua.
He's good at tumbling the blocks.
Joshua, you just trying to say that Joshua in the Bible was like a sore loser, like if he lost because of his reaction to AI?
God chose a person that did not accept defeat. So
That's
if
good.
he lost, look at it like this. When they lost the first battle of AI, Joshua's running around frantically saying, in other words, like, imagine, it's not my fault. It's not our fault. It has to be something.
Well, he just.
But it was something.
We
found out it was something.
It was more of like looking for the reason. Yeah. No, you're good.
But
anyway,
in other words, like if they lose, there has to be a reason why they lost. Because Joshua won't.
Do you think he told them he mustered all the men? Like, men, we may have lost the battle, but we shall win the war.
And they did win the war.
I was trying to like turn it more this way so it captures your voice, not the.
We shall win the war. Hey man, enough with the microphone stuff.
Sorry.
What's wrong with you?
That's what's supposed to face your mouth.
You're supposed to face the camera.
I'm sorry.
So okay. We got that focused on about Joshua's character.
Yeah.
Great.
So moving on, Joshua's character kind of comes out. It also shows his repentance and it shows his willingness to be involved in the battle as opposed to that idea of like cockiness rising up and just they
set themselves up. They set themselves up, guys behind the city hiding, and Joshua goes to the front, right?
He goes with the people as they went before, and it says that they mustered all the people earlier, and when the people of AI saw that they were coming out to war against them, they came out like they did before, like the same way. So they're like, oh, we're going to fight them again. And Joshua feigned retreat, feigned like they were getting defeated again. That excited the people so much to where not only just the people of AI, but the people of the neighboring city of Bethel all came out and they were pursuing them. And then all you do is see that behind, like the people, they look back and they just see that their city is on fire. And
Wait,
Joshua stops and turns around.
We got to pause because
how
dumb? How dumb does this king have to be? Because before Joshua shows up with, I mean, not even Joshua. Someone showed up with 3,000 guys. So there was 3,000 guys. And they lose and they retreat. Now, this king sees 30,000 guys.
Well, 25.
No, 30,000, and there's 5,000. 5,000 hiding. But imagine there's a significant number in people, and now it's a lot more people, and they just retreat without even attempting to fight. They just retreat. As for any king, like, you could obviously see that this is some sort of trap. Whether you've heard of this type of strategy or not, just from like a common sense type of thing, like, oh, they're running away, that doesn't make any sense. Let's not follow them. But these guys, I mean, obviously God did his part when he said, I have given them into your hands. So he must have taken away the judgment of this king and made him completely stupid to go chase after Joshua.
Well, and notice how he tells Joshua specifically what to do. Like, do this. I feel like it's going to work for you this time.
That's all he told him to do.
Well, what's worse is that it literally says in verse 17, there was not a man left in Ai, even if you're fighting, even if you have them on the ropes, who sends every single one of your fighters against, I guess,
everybody, go!
I guess the idea was this superimposing, super scary force of nature that you've heard about and you've seen destroy all these cities. You have them and you have an opportunity to wipe them out. They might have been extra motivated. Like, this is the second time they're beating. They're like, oh man, we could actually beat them this time and get rid of this. We can sleep at night now, knowing that they're not just sleeping outside of our city gates waiting to kill us. And they send everybody. And when Joshua turns around in this moment and he has this look in his eye, I can only imagine. And God tells him to lift up his spear. And when he lifted up his spear, it extends it towards the city. Everybody knew that as a signal to rise up and ambush the city behind them. And then you had from three different directions an amassing of armies coming to them. And it correlates very beautifully to Exodus 17, whenever Moses held his staff up in the sky while they were battling the Amalekites. And what's really interesting about the correlation between the two is that Joshua's been on both sides of this. He's been the command, like when they were fighting the Amalekites in Exodus 17, he was the soldier on the field fighting. And then when Moses' arms would go down, they would lose. And when his arms would go up, remember, they would win. And so you had Aaron and Hur helping him hold up his arms. I can just think about Joshua remembering that and holding up his arms. And it says that he didn't put down his arm until all of the revenge was taken out upon it says 12,000 people were killed in total from Ai, and they completely devastated everything. They were victorious in every single way. And Joshua just remembering the importance of having God on his side and holding up, and he's not holding a staff. Moses was famous for holding up the shepherding staff. He had the spear. Notice again,
which is heavier than a staff.
Exactly. And it's highlighting the difference in the personalities and the callings and the purposes that he had compared to Moses. And I just think that's a really cool, it's very cinematic. You know what I mean? This moment where he turns around and he picks up. Exactly. And it's just, he just sitting there, and then you just imagine the waft of confidence that comes back through the Israelites.
Oh, not just the waft of confidence. The dude has some strength. Okay, imagine this is on the construction sites. It's something that we do, that we try to hold a sledgehammer or anything that's long that has some weight to it, and you try to hold it from the end of it. All right, and you try to
like
hold
the
it
test where
straight
you
out.
hold it and pick up the arm. Yeah, exactly.
You just try to see the strength you have. Now, I don't imagine Joshua did that by holding. He had some more common sense, but just imagine this spear was most. I mean, you got to imagine a spear is like back then. Their spears were long. I mean, they weren't just like regular throwing spears. Like these were spears used in
penetrate armor.
To penetrate armor, but they were also like all these guys. What they would do, the front line, and a lot of times they would stay with spears, and then they would hold their spears out so that the other guys coming to attack can't penetrate through the front line because there's a whole line of spears. Now these spears are normally, I mean, probably pretty long. If you look it up, I would say somewhere about 10 feet, somewhere around there, like 8 to 10 feet. So they're long spears and they got some weight to it. So holding this spear was not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It was a task. Remember, even if Moses himself, just the shepherd stick, he couldn't hold up by himself. So imagine the difference. Now, it doesn't say specifically that he held it up the whole time. We don't know if he held it the whole time, or it's beautiful thought.
I mean, I'm sure he fought as well.
It does say that until there was destruction. And it says that they burned Ai and made it a heap forever and a desolation to this day. And they took the king of Ai and they hanged him on a tree until evening. And when the sun was down, Joshua commanded that you should take his corpse down and cast it at the entrance of the gate. And raised again, you're going to love this, Josh, another heap of stones over it that remain to this day. So they really love just piling stones on top of people.
Before we talk about the piling stones and what AI.
Well, that was the end of the destruction of AI.
Well, something that sticks out about the story of AI is the first time they attack AI, they retreat and they lose. And It's just funny how God can use your, a bad situation and use it in an advantage. Because the first time they retreated and they lost. And now the second time they retreat and it's like they did the same thing like that they did before. And the guys AI and Bethel, they got very excited because they saw them retreating again. And because they decided to do that, they ended up losing tremendously, greatly. Yeah. Because the Israelites were doing the same thing that they did the first time they lost, but they were faking it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So God used that to an advantage. He used the weakness that was before as an advantage to win this time. It's like if you're a boxer and you know that, okay, last time I lost the match was because I left my face in a position for the guy to uppercut me. So that the next time you go and fight, you're going to pretend to leave your face open in that same position so that when the guy goes to uppercut, you know that he's going to uppercut you. So you do a completely different position and knock him out because you know that his move is going to be using the uppercut. So it's the same thing here. The Israelites knew that these guys were going to chase them. So they set it up in a position. You know what I mean?
Because God told them, who knows if that strategy would have worked the same way if they did it that way the first time.
Yeah,
it's like they were meant to lose.
Everything in the grand scheme of things, if you want to cop out with and he's like, oh, everything happens for a reason. They learned a lesson and God used that to make it easier for them to defeat AI. But I don't think God ever wants us to sin or to fall out of his grace in order to teach us a lesson. But it's in fact because of his grace and his mercy that he does use that to strengthen us and build us, and he'll use our mistakes for our benefit, like you're saying. Yeah.
It's not that he wants us, it's just that he knows that we're going to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like he knows that you're going to fall down this path, so he kind of I mean, I don't want to get too far into the predestination thing, but you know what I mean? It's
it's real.
That's a topic for another day, but it's like, you know, he knows what's going to happen.
It's just like, you know, Ed Reed from the Ravens would play a certain way all game until the critical down, and he knew Brady's going to that direction, and he'd pretend like he's been fooled by it all game, but then at the very end when it counts, he'd get that pick.
Yeah.
Not that he always picked off Brady, but
that's a good example. Yeah.
I mean,
like,
that's every sport. That's the way you fight. That's like the art
that's what
of war.
God told him to do. He's
It's like pulling the okie doke.
Yeah.
You know?
And another thing I didn't mention is that God told Joshua in that moment to lift his spear. I kind of made it seem like Joshua just did it like a 300s moment.
It was like the Techno Viking.
But again, I just discovered it today. You're trying to make it. I guess it probably is viral, but the internet is so massive. Something could be viral, and I could have never seen it.
You've seen it.
It
was just like 15 years ago, but you've seen it.
Okay. Well, AI is destroyed. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, AI is destroyed, and
the
what's
king
the
is
meaning
hung.
of AI?
The city, the meaning of the city.
I'm afraid that
the name's meaning is...
we might have been mispronouncing it. It's not AI. It's actually pronounced AI.
Either way,
we just say AI.
The name of the city, basically, what it means is it's a heap of destruction, or a heap of ruins.
I knew that, but do you think that it meant that after? Like now, that's what it means.
Yeah,
like that's what they named it when
Joshua wrote this. That's why. I mean, they named the city. The victors always name whatever.
Like Jericho was City of Palms, or you know what I mean. Like it's that had a pretty name because of all the palm trees. I don't think like if I built a city, I wouldn't
look
be
at
like,
it like this. Look at it like this.
Destruction.
Who wrote Genesis?
Moses.
Okay. Now in Genesis 12 verse 8, he says that when he's talking about Abraham, that Abraham he moved to the mountain east of Bethel and pitched a tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. He specifically says Ai.
Yeah.
So even in that time, Ai still had that name, heap of ruins. Why?
Maybe it was like an old place, and it had like they built off of ruins that were previously like built. Who knows? I mean, again,
so that when Joshua destroys it, it's just goes back
prophetic.
To a heap of ruins?
They knew from the beginning that we're going to get killed. God is coming, but we're going to be here for now.
Hey, maybe AI eventually became to mean heap of ruins.
That's kind of what I said.
Because of what happened.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, because...
No.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I was born, Nathan did not mean winner. It just meant, gift from God. But after me being on this earth, all of a sudden the meaning changed.
That's a good point. Things, and then to this day, it says,
and it will be forever.
Heap of ruin. That's kind of what it became.
All right.
Burned. I made it a heap forever, a desolation to this day. Important thing to note. This is going to come up again later.
I was about to say, because we're on to Samuel.
No. Remember, they took down the corpse that evening. That's going to be something that's repeated. It was a commandment in Deuteronomy that it is a curse is the man that is hung overnight. So the Israelites always make careful. They always make an extra effort to make sure that whoever is hung, even though it was a king, they hung him, they put him to death, that they take down his body. And it's not hung overnight. That's why it constantly says, and they took it down in the evening when the sun came down. But it's not like they treated it with respect after that. They kind of chunked his body in the entrance of the gate of the city and then piled stones on it again. So, but after this event takes place in Joshua chapter 8, the second half of the chapter from verses 30 to 35, we see that Joshua is commanded, well, actually, no. What Joshua does is a fulfillment of the command that was given to Moses. It says, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the children of Israel and written in the book of law of Moses, Joshua built an altar to God in Israel in Mount Elba. And what happens in the next part of the chapter is a very interesting part of Joshua that a lot of people don't talk about.
Mount Ebal.
Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. The children of Israel, they come to the mountains, and what happens is the whole congregation stands before both mounts. They have half of the tribes of Israel, 6 tribes in front of Mount Ebal, and half in front of Mount Gerizim.
Gerizim.
One is to symbolize the cursings of the Lord, those that live in disobedience to his commandments, as named out in Deuteronomy, and half in front of Gerizim, which is to represent the blessings of the Lord, those who live in obedience.
It's just terrible. It's
why it's so
terrible.
funny?
Because
it's
of the
beautiful ceremony.
It is a beautiful ceremony for the
it's
ones
a
that are
renewing
getting
of the
blessings,
covenant. Joshua,
but the other ones that are just like, you're part of the curse. Look at that mountain, you little curse.
And then, oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess, I bet you they did feel good about who stood in front of where.
Yeah. It's like splitting your kids. It's like splitting your kids half and half. You're my favorites and you're not my favorites.
It's not. It's.
You guys look at that wall, and then you guys look at that wall, and then I'll.
Jacob, I have loved, but Esau, I have hated from the beginning. Like there's no chance.
No chance at all.
And the Levites stood in the center with the Ark of the Covenant in the middle, and audibly they would repeat the blessings and the cursings of the Lord, while Joshua built an altar on the Mount of Cursing, because an interesting thing to note is that he built the altar for sacrifice on the mount that represents curses, because where else would you need atonement but for whenever you're in disobedience, right? So it was very symbolic that he built that there, and that he wrote the words. And then it says that he spoke the words. He said that there was not a single law of the law of Moses that he did not read aloud for all the Israelites to hear. And this ceremonial act of the Israelites in this moment of confirmation, like Joshua could have did this at any point, but he found after this victory, after they have redeemed themselves, to take this moment now that they're here and to fulfill another level of what God commanded. And it's really, really important to note that this would reflect not just for the Israelites, but it says that all those that were with them, any foreigners were with them, anybody that was together with the Israelites that had come with them along the way. Think about like Rahab and her family. And some people believe that in the center is the town of Shechem. That's a very popular city. That's an area that would be between the two mountains in this valley area. I kind of have a picture here so you can see it, but
it's a nice picture.
Some people believe that the town of Shechem, the people that were there, kind of followed the same idea of Rahab. And the reason that it's mentioned that there was read aloud the strangers as well as he who was born amongst them, that's repeated. That's verse, well, that's a long verse, 33. That the people of Shechem, when they saw the way that God worked and they heard, in the same way that Rahab heard and repented and joined with the Israelites, the people of Shechem came and kind of devoted themselves to the Israelites. And they were adopted kind of as like foreigners that were traveling with them. I don't know where there's no way to prove that. There's no biblical precedence for that. That kind of goes against the idea that they're supposed to remove all the Canaanites, but it's something that I ran into more than once, as some people believe that idea. So I thought it would be interesting to mention.
That they were mingling.
But Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 29, it says, when the Lord your God has brought you into the land entering to possess, you are to proclaim on Mount Gerizim the blessings, and on Mount Elba the curses.
Ebal.
What did I say?
Elba? You keep saying Elba.
Ebal, the curses. 30, as you know, these mountains are across the Jordan, westward, the setting sun, near the great trees of Moreh, in the territory of the Canaanites living in Arba, in the vicinity. Joshua, did you drop your phone when I said that?
Araba.
Yeah.
Of Gilgal.
I'm sorry. I wanted to read who was in front of who, because you said, I put that in my notes here.
Like to get down to what like the true meaning of the trees of Moreh is, and I think what was my last conclusion, that the trees of Moreh was like the forest, or the
forest that led to the cave that led to the burial site of Adam and Eve, and could possibly be the entrance to the Garden of Eden.
Exactly. For
those that are new listeners, you have to go back and listen.
That's my hypothesis. Okay.
That's the whole reason for the Bible. It's about trees.
Trees of Moreh and the trees of Mamre. But these shall stand on Mount Gerizim, the mountain that represents the blessing, to bless the people when they cross over the Jordan. Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. And the tribes that stood in front of Mount Ebal, the cursed mountain, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And the Levites would be in the center, and they would read the curses out loud, and the people would respond, amen, after each curse and after each blessing. Like, curse is the one who disobeys the word of the Lord, and the whole congregation would go, amen. And it must have been quite a sight. One fun fact about this area too, this Mount Gerizim, the Mount of Blessing, is that later on in the Bible, in the book of John, when Jesus meets the woman at the well, she mentions how the Samaritans they worship on their mountain, that they've been worshiping on this mountain since the days of their father, right? And Jesus responds to her and tells her that the day is coming where, the true worshipers shall worship in spirit and in truth, neither in the temple nor the mountain. That mountain that she mentions that becomes sacred to the Samaritans is Mount Gerizim and Shechem. And in this area, in this valley, is where that well would be, where Jesus interacts with the woman. As you read earlier, Joshua, from Genesis, Abraham also spent time in this area. The dude built an altar. He built an altar in Shechem, which would have been the area in the valley between these two. They're not really mountains. They're like great hills. Think they're bigger than the hill, not really like grandfather mountain, like you have to travel like Mount Everest, but really big mounds that are bigger than you climb. And like, it's a task to hike.
It's a mountain. A mountain doesn't need to have a pointy tip.
It's a mount. Yeah, it's two mountains. I thought they weren't that impressive in their size. That's why I wanted to kind of like, there were a hill. When I look at them, see, that's the valley in between.
Like,
so one would stand
ground.
Here. I thought that was cool.
And
I'll put a picture on there.
Is like a lot of rock.
Sure.
Are you trying to?
I'm not a geologist. I wouldn't know.
What did you say? A hill?
You don't have to be a geologist to know that grass is grass.
It's green.
No.
I feel like you've used that example.
Wait, there's so you're saying mountains can't have grass?
No, mountains can have grass. I'm just saying that mountains
between a mountain and a hill.
You know what? Let's look this up.
While you look that up, one last thing to mention about the ceremony between the two mounds. Later on in the book of Joshua, in chapter 21, this area will be given to the Kohathites and will be used as a Levitical city of refuge. Remember, we talked about the cities of refuge that will be laid out.
Where all the assassins go.
Where people can run refuge. This area of Shechem will be. And remember, the Kohathites would be the ones of the tribe of Levi who would be carrying the sanctuary items like lamps, table, showbread, Ark of the Covenant. There would be the specific ones responsible for those, whenever they transport them and whatnot. So, I found this part of the story super fascinating. This renewal of the covenant, this moment that they spent together, confirming the promises of God after discovering sin and after repentance, after God blesses them, after a great victory, they take a moment. And if you were one of the Canaanites, you would think that they're insane. Like, you just imagine that sight of those, they're just in front of two mountains and they're chanting in unison. It must have been a sight to behold, and it must have been extremely terrifying for all the rest of the Canaanites, because not only did their victories go before them, but like the way God worked for them went before them, and their reputation definitely preceded them. Going into chapter 9, we find that not only the reputation was so frightening that it caused some very creative responses from the other city-states surrounding, specifically the Gibeonites. And going into chapter 9, we're going to talk about the Gibeonite deception. Now, Nathan, if you could read...
which is actually a good one. This one was a good one.
Yeah, no, that's not that bad.
No, it wasn't. It was better than the Joshua, oh no, run away, all 30,000 of us, run away.
Okay.
That's what they sounded like.
Come on, guys, run away. All 30,000 of us. Yeah.
Because they were shorter, because everybody was like 5 feet tall back then.
I'm
a bunch of short people fighting each other throughout the whole Bible.
Read the first 5 verses, Nathan. Just 5 verses.
All right, I can read that.
What?
And it came to pass, when all the kings who were on this side of the Jordan, in the hills and in the lowland, and in all the coasts of the great sea toward Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite heard about it, that they gathered together to fight with Joshua and Israel with one accord.
Uh-oh.
But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they worked craftily and went and pretended to be ambassadors. They took old sacks on their donkeys, old wineskins torn and mended, old and patched sandals on their feet, and old garments on themselves. And all the bread of their provisions was dry and moldy.
And it's just such a crafty.
And they went to Joshua.
But there's an important thing that happens here. So you have 5 city-states unite to be like, we need to get. They weren't united. There wasn't a single Canaanite force during this time. They were all kind of their own thing, and they were all separate.
All city-states.
Yeah, but this is drawing, like, the response is very funny. Like, you see, like, when God comes and he's conquering, some people, they tense up and they revolt against it. Some people, they want to be a part of it. And then it's like, it's not a really good analogy, but it's kind of like, that's where my mind went to initially. I was like, that's so weird. The response of the world whenever the presence of God or the truth kind of comes in a conquering form. It's like the Gibeonites, they knew they could have allied themselves. They weren't weak, is what I wanted to say. The Gibeonites, if you see in chapter 10, it mentions that they were mighty, that they were actually a strong city-state compared in the area. And when the other people heard that they allied themselves, that they were mad and they went and attacked them specifically. First, this coalition of kings that comes together against the Israelites, they don't attack the Joshua first, they attack the Gibeonites. So their purpose in coming craftily to try to trick the Israelites into allying themselves with them, it makes you think. It's like they believed that God was, they were allying themselves with, like, we know who's going to be on the right side of history, who's going to be victorious. We want to be on the right side. And apparently we have no chance. We're going to be destroyed. So it's either kill or deceive. And it's kind of hard to fault them for what they do, but it also reveals the chinks in the armor of the Israelites.
Put yourself on the Gibeonite side, or on anyone's side. If imagine being even Rahab. Rahab deceived for the Israelites.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And Joshua, what does he do? He deceives Ai.
Well, that's war. Does it really count as deception, or does it count as military strategy?
This whole like how Nathan said before, we might have lost the battle, but we haven't lost.
It looked like it was 3D
the
for
war.
a second. Did it look 3D to you?
Won the war.
Your hand swiping across literally looked like it came out the screen, and it tripped me out so hard. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to distract you.
In other words, this whole thing, it's all a military campaign. So it's not. It's like it's all one giant war. Yeah. Everyone knows that the Israelites are coming, and they're coming for them. So it's either you stand in their way and die, or you don't stand in the way and you still die, or you link up with them and try to be their slave.
Some way.
Yeah. Listen, fellas. The rules of engagement are that there are no rules.
There are none.
There was rules.
You have to lie.
There was rules. They could have been peaceful about it. If they would have came to the city, they would have turned over. Like
these
Shechem,
guys,
some people believe.
Pretended to be ambassadors.
They pretended like they came from outside of Canaan. So they got moldy bread, wineskins that are old. They rolled over in the dust. I feel like they just tore their clothes.
You know what?
And
This reminds me of a story.
Is this the part of the episode where Joshua gives us a story?
Actually, yes.
This is a story of a man named Brady.
I did something similar with, well, no, not like your
second, that's your second Tom Brady mentioned in the episode. You only get 3.
No, I didn't. That was actually from Brady Bunch. First.
Really?
It's a story of a man named Brady. You don't know that song?
No, I don't know that song.
All right,
I might look old, but I'm not that old.
All right, sorry. I'm sorry, Joshua.
No, you're fine.
He wasn't supposed to ask about it. He did it to me.
I'm sorry.
You were
So
talking
there
about
was
this reminds you of a story.
Yes, there was a time when I decided to. I came home from school, and
Oh, this is your story.
Yeah, no, this is the Josh story. That's why I asked.
I'm not. I don't feel so bad for seeing
So-
you.
when I was younger in school,
I was a young Joshua.
I didn't get the best grades. Like literally did not.
No kidding.
No, you.
No kidding.
And look at you now.
I was one of those kids that would always do well on tests. I just never did my homework. I would do work to not do homework. You know, like one of those types of no, not lazy. Like sometimes to pretend to be working, you actually do work that's harder than the actual work that you were supposed to do, but you just decided to fake it. You know what I mean? Either way, that's what I was doing. So it was report card season. I see my report card, terrible report card. All right. I had so many F's on it. I had more
Test
F's
scores
than,
really kept you up, huh?
Yeah.
That's how that works.
if I was there to take the test. But the problem is I didn't go to school all the time.
You also didn't go to school.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Either
Okay.
way, so I get off the bus and I'm going home and I'm walking home and I'm trying to think in my mind, like, what am I going to do? Because the last time I did so the previous time, I'm doing a little side story. The previous time I decided
Doing
to
a
fake.
side story and you're already off
Hey, shut
topic.
up. I want to
story.
hear now.
Wait,
What
wait.
is it?
The previous time I tried to do something on my report card. I tried to change. So I had an F on my report card. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to change this F to a B with a Sharpie. Actually, it turned out great. I did a great job doing it. I turned it from an F to a B. And then I got a little greedy. So what I did is I tried to turn the B to an A. I realized you can't do that. No.
You can't go back once the swoop is underneath, man.
You can't
Closed
do
off
that.
the swoop.
So now this is clearly like, bro, I tried to change this. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to scrap it. I ripped it up. I threw it in the garbage and I pretended like it never existed. My dad, he came, he's like, where's your report card? And I told him the casual thing that I would almost always tell them, I would tell them, but she forgot to give it to me. She forgot to give it to me.
As they do.
But I used
Teachers
it
always
so
forget
much.
to give report cards to kids.
I used it so much that they're like, this guy's for sure lying. So he eventually got it out of me that I threw it away. He made me
beating that only an immigrant gives to their kids.
Yes. Eventually, I went and I grabbed the trash and I brought it to him, and he takes the trash can and he dumps it all over the floor, and he's like, "You prepare for your future job, Josh."
I love it.
Basically, calling me a future garbage man. So
They make a lot of money,
That was
though.
I'm
my.
about to say that's the joke. Is like they're unionized and they get. It's so competitive. It's so.
You're right.
difficult.
No, it's actually a great job. It's not even. That would be a great job.
Joke's
to have.
on you,
But
Dad.
back then, being called a garbage man, like as a kid, you think that's a terrible job. Either way, that was my previous encounter with my report card. So now I'm walking home from getting off the bus, trying to think
that's
like
not the story.
trying
was
to
the
think,
side
what can I
quest.
do? That was the side quest story. What can I do this time? Because obviously last time that did not work. So what I decided to beat myself up. I started rolling in the ground. I punched myself in the face a couple times. I ripped my backpack and everything. So
Anything
get
but
how
go to class.
stupid I was. Get how stupid I was. I get
Just
home
for your
and
parents.
I'm crying, and I get to my mom and I'm like, and my mom's like, "What happened?" I was like, "These guys, they came and they beat me up, and they took my report card."
Oh my gosh!
They strictly took your report card
You
only.
had to take the backpack or something, man.
No, they took the whole. They only
Give
ripped
me
the
your
report card.
punk. Your parents will never see
I don't know.
this.
I don't know if so my dad wasn't home at the time. I don't know
Bro,
where
you
he's probably at
definitely
work.
weren't gonna get A's if you were going to school all the time.
But so I don't know if I actually duped my mom or not, but my mom, my mom, what she does the next day is she forces me to give her a description of the kid. And I'm making up a description.
I can guess what description you gave her.
She goes to the school and she gives them a description of the kid. Bro,
I hope
I
hope it was a kid.
Security did find a kid that matches.
Oh God!
And I had to look that kid. They called me to the office, and I had to look that kid straight in the face as they're making all these accusations, and I had to say, yes,
No way.
that was the kid.
Random kid. Pablo was just like, what?
What happened to the kid? Did he get expelled?
No, they caught on that I made the whole thing up, and they made me apologize. And they gave my mom the report card that I threw away. Also,
what did the kid say to you? Was he just like, "What? I didn't beat you up.
I will now."
I don't remember.
Did he beat you up for real after that? Because I would have.
Dude, weren't you like a foot taller than everybody always?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way some kids.
But he was like skinny. You know what I mean?
I was skinny.
He's a blue collar, stocky man now.
All right. So my question is, what on God's earth does this story have to do with this whole thing that we're doing here?
With the Gibeonite deception.
Well, I tried to deceive my mom by making myself look like I was beat up and tore up. You know,
actually, yeah, some relevance.
That was
so you've been there. So you did start the story where like
Gibeonites.
Yeah, you did start the story like let's put ourselves in the Gibeonite shoes. I've also beat myself senseless to try. Well,
because I knew that if I was to go home with that report card, I would have got a butt whooping.
Well, you did either way.
I eventually got a butt
to yourself.
Whooping. But yeah, exactly.
Gosh,
and for some weird reason, I actually did punch myself in the face.
No, you're committed. You're definitely like once you decide on something, you go all in. So I believe that.
Let me tell y'all something. If you're gonna fake grades, kids, just so you know, the trick is never show them the report card, but tell them you got an F. I got an F. I was so embarrassed that I tore up the report card. What'd you get an F in? And just tell them math, right? Don't tell them you had all Fs. Just tell them you had that one F.
Honestly, that's too good of advice for me being comfortable sharing that on a Bible podcast. That's very, very actually
that was good.
Kind of genius.
Yeah, because math you could always improve by just doing math.
Yeah, they're like, well, you need to work on your math extra, but my others were good. I believe you.
Yeah, because why would he was so embarrassed he tore up the report card.
What is he, Joshua? No.
You know what I ended up doing, like to fix this situation?
Did you ever try going to school and studying?
No.
He's successful. That's what's crazy about
No. What I ended up doing was I would wait to the very end of the semester and I would go to my teachers begging, what can I do? And they would actually, surprisingly, almost every single teacher gave me things to do to get me at least to a D or C. I almost never got a B or an A, ever.
But
a D and a C.
Yeah,
teacher, they don't do
That's
that.
all that I cared about.
They wait for that student. They love telling him you are gonna fail.
Yeah, I was a straight A student always till I got a car.
So the Gibeonites. Let's get back to the story because we still have a little bit to cover here.
No, we don't. We're finishing it with the greater meaning time.
So the question is, Josh wasn't successful in his deceptions. Why were the Gibeonites successful in their deception? Why did it work against? Did you like that segue?
I did not like it at all. That was so cringe.
Oh, dude, we had to do something, and now we're back. Because it shows they appeal to God being wonderful and mighty and the works that he worked, and the way that they spoke is like, oh, we have heard that the Lord your God, he is God, and heard of his fame, and we were sent to, they came kind of like singing their praises, like, oh, we heard what you did with the Sion of the Heshbon and Og of Bashan, and we heard about what you did. we want to do, and it's funny, they just go straight like, let's make a covenant. Come on, man. This bread we took, it's like, listen, don't think about it. Let's make it. And the response was like, who are y'all? Like, are you sure you're not? Like, they were skeptical. Joshua and the leaders were skeptical enough to ask.
You guys showed up here on the brink of death. Basically, almost nothing to drink. Your food has become basically poison now because how old it is. How are you here? And now that you are here, you have this deal you want to sign.
Just hurry, just before we eat, before anything, just make a treaty. Come on, just.
You know how long it takes for a wineskin to get old?
I didn't look that up, but that would have been really good to know.
Exactly. I didn't either,
73
but pretty
days.
Freaking long.
I'm gonna Google it.
73 days.
Yeah, because I did a previous study on that, but it takes a while. Not 73 days, but it takes a while. It's not like something that happens overnight. A wineskin normally can hold wine in it for a good little while.
I guess it depends on what type of wineskin.
It depends on the animal that you use.
Many years.
The wine.
I'm not looking at the right thing.
These guys were traveling for many years.
We've come from the Americas.
So they made a treaty with them, like, we'll be your servants. That's essentially what they did.
They wanted to become vassals. Think about it like they still run their city-state, but they're at beck and call to a greater nation force. Think about how the Persians would conquer the world. Like, they were just like, as long as you Greece come to my aid when I call you for war, but you can keep ruling your little area, but we own you. That's what they wanted. They said, we're your servants. Make a covenant with us. See, our bread is
because
old.
Once they make the covenant, they can't. It's not like they could just rip up the covenant and attack them. It's not what it is at all. It's more
once they make a
once they make a covenant, these people have now become part of Israel. So if Israel attacks them, in other words, Israel is attacking themselves. And that is not how it should work. God punishes those that don't keep their word in their covenant. Like, that's a way of, like, it's sinning before God. So if they go into a covenant, they have to obey it. And they were told specifically by God not to make a covenant with anybody of the land of Canaan. So that's why they ask 2 separate times, where are you from? Like, are you sure you're not from around here? What was the first covenant that God made with all of us? Was it the rainbow?
That could be the first official covenant, and then there was Abraham's covenant, and then
I think this rainbow is a sign that I will never flood the earth again.
I will never flood the earth.
How wild would it be if out of nowhere you just realize, I haven't seen a rainbow in a long time. Would that mean
rainbow on the way to Andrew's house?
No.
That a flood's coming?
In the future, like, you just imagine just like looking out in the sky and then you just finished raining and the sun's out and you're like, there should be a rainbow there, but there isn't. And wait, if I can recall, I haven't seen one in about 50 years. That would be terrifying.
Anyway,
that's all I got.
Yeah.
I mean, very interesting. Very astute.
If you don't see a rainbow, doesn't mean that God's going to.
There, Joshua. Thank you for that.
You've done.
Sorry,
you can't do it anymore. For the rest of the episode,
thank you.
We've given you your time.
Man, that was great.
Sorry.
Hey, what happens if there are no more rainbows, bro? What happens if you don't see a rainbow?
This segment is the most interrupted story portion
I
ever.
even called it a raid, bro.
A raid, bro.
One thing I want to mention about chapter 9 is that with the deception of the Gibeonites, them deceiving the Israelites revealed the weakness within what I believe that was already becoming obvious inside of the camp of the Israelites. When you read specifically verses 7 and 8 and the way they respond and how they're asking, they're kind of jumping between Joshua and then the men of the leaders of Israel. And it's like, they almost play each other back and forth to see like, oh, what do you say? Or what do you say? And when you read Joshua makes a covenant and then the children of Israel swear to them, it's like they add an extra, it's like they were, once one person was questioning and maybe coming to a point where they might be getting finding out what's going on, they jump to another part to try to appeal. And it's like the division of unity and leadership that was kind of starting to appear in this portion was starting to affect the Israelites. But the most important thing that they messed up on, it says specifically, is that they did not inquire before the Lord. They were
again,
questioning.
Once again,
they were like, who are you really? But instead of going to God and putting any major decision that they made, like an alliance and a covenant with a random group of people that come show up to your door, they just put it upon themselves to go and make a decision on their own without maybe the God that would have told you, hey, they're deceiving you. They literally live right there. They take upon themselves to make this covenant that they're now sworn to. And it says that 3 days later, they find out about it. And all the Israelites get up and travel to the
talk about
cities of
signing a
Gibeonites.
bad deal. Actually, it wasn't even that bad of a deal, to be honest. Now they got like water bearers and woodcutters.
Well, it's that idea of like, it's the idea of any major decision you make in your life when you're walking with God and you're doing what God has purposed for you to do in your life, and you come upon a crossroads or something where you have a doubt or you don't know for sure, because they weren't certain that they were deceived, and they weren't certain if it was a good idea. Not putting it before the Lord, why wouldn't you? God has been with you and spoken to you to this point and given you strategies on how to overcome battles and obstacles and wars. And you're just going to put it upon yourself whenever you have the greatest resource of all time. This is just another example
of the character of Joshua, like how we were talking about before, like just like how I guess I was talking about before. Somebody who is just very intense, probably like
gung-ho,
as we see. Yes, very gung-ho. And he does. It's not like he's a man who does things without.
What do you mean? Gung-ho means like
define gung-ho, both of you.
Impulsive, like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do it. Yeah, you know what? You're here. You seem like you're cool. Covenant made.
Someone who says gung and ho.
Joshua uses gung-ho.
No, he does not.
Keep going. Why did that word bother you so bad?
I don't know why.
You hated that word.
In other words, he was very emotionally driven. He definitely was emotionally driven. I'll give you that. For sure. I do not know what caused him to necessarily sign this treaty, to be honest, because it's not like these guys had a lot to offer, right?
I don't know if it says they signed anything. What does it say?
He didn't do his due diligence.
So Joshua made a peace with them and made a covenant with them to let them live, and the rulers of the congregation swore to them. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, why is there two things happening there? If Joshua's deliberately, like, why?
It sounds like Caesar and the Senate. Or
kind of.
The president.
But here's the thing. When they show up to Gibeon, like 3 days later, the congregation, like the actual people, the fighting men, are like, all right, time to go battle. And Joshua's like, no, stop. And it literally says that the people are mad. Like all the congregation complained against the rulers, and the rulers said to the congregation, like, I get it, you're complaining, you're mad, you want more booty probably, but we swore to them by the Lord God of Israel that we would not touch them. And this is super important because they made a mistake. Joshua made a mistake. They realized that they were deceived, but they were honorable in the fact that they held up their end. Like, okay, we made a covenant, we made a mistake, we're willing to grin and bear it. And what the response is that Joshua says to them that he will make them servants. Like, why have you deceived us in this way? And from now on, you will never not be a slave, essentially, like not more than a servant. You will be a woodcutter and a water bearer, referring to like menial tasks that would be done for the tabernacle and the temple of God. The Gibeonites will now serve
the men and the women.
Yeah,
in other words,
men will be woodcutters.
This is what the guys will do. This is what the girls will do.
And this is interesting, Josh, you said this and alluded to it earlier, but if you read in Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 9, it says that Moses refers to this term of being woodcutters and water bearers as people that are like kind of adopted they become part of Israel, right? They're part of a covenant people now. They're going to serve and celebrate the same celebrations and be subject to the same laws. It says that you stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your God, your tribal heads, your elders, your officials, all the men of Israel, your children, your wives, even the sojourners within your camp, from the hewers of your wood to the drawers of your water. So he's kind of referring to the fact that those that stand before God and make this covenant, those that cut your wood and draw your water are part and are subject to the laws and the blessings and the curses of Israel. So by them making this covenant, Joshua is adopting them into the congregation of Israel. So you're right. They're like attacking them would be attacking themselves. And what's unfortunate is that later on, King Saul in 2 Samuel does do this. And he he breaks the treaty with the Gibeonites and attacks them. And
King Saul went crazy.
Well, yeah, but he attacks them. And what ends up happening is that because of that breaking of the treaty, that covenant by a king of Israel, God allows a 3-year famine to fall upon the land. And when David seeks before the Lord to figure out, hey, why is the land in famine for 3 years? Later, when David's king, God tells him this is because Saul broke the covenant with the Gibeonites. So the way that David would then rectify the situation is that he went to the Gibeonites and said, what do you need to do? What do you want us to do to right this wrong? And he required 7 of Saul's sons to be delivered to the Gibeonites to kill them.
And David did it, no problem.
And he did it, and the famine went away. But it's like, it shows you, like, blood had to be shed because they broke the covenant. And when you make a promise before the Lord your God, that is putting the reputation of God on the line. Like, you can't, God doesn't break his promises. God doesn't break his covenants.
Joshua and David like best friends? No, I mean, not Joshua.
Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan, but he didn't give up Jonathan.
No. Jonathan died later,
Yeah, he didn't give up Jonathan. He gave up the other ones.
David just gave up all the other brothers of Jonathan.
Well, the thing is, life was cheap back then. So, it was like, hey, you're going to die today, Jonathan's younger brother.
Andrew, so regarding back to the woodcutter and water bearer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's talk about this.
It wasn't just because I know we're calling it menial tasks done by women.
I mean, it was like manual labor tasks.
It's not just manual labor. Look at it like this.
I don't know, carrying water and cutting wood.
No,
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I know it's like a broader term.
Every tribe, because they're all tribes, like they're all separate but one. All the tribes of Israel, each one was given a specific task. It's like also being part of a church, and everyone that's part of a church, you're not just nobody inside of a church. Well, actually, in my opinion,
you mean like
how I see it,
the members of the body of Christ, different members have different tasks.
Everyone has a task. I mean, nobody, just like no tribe in Israel is just there to just be there. They all have a certain task. My church thing wasn't going to make any sense because there actually are a lot of people that just go to church.
Most of the church people go there and don't do anything. Yeah, most people don't.
Not I.
Yeah, maybe not you.
Okay, Josh.
I was walking around with a mop today, just looking for stuff to clean up.
Why wouldn't you listen?
Not saying
why
that
don't you just sit in church
go
and
in church and listen and pray. Stop skipping school, man.
No.
Literally, you skipping school.
I was looking for something to mop. In fact, I made a mess to mop it up.
see church.
I beat myself up and went to the pastor and said, "No, they beat me up. I couldn't come inside."
The way I see church is that's not my day where I go and get fed, because my God time and my Bible time, like how for all of us, it should be on a day-to-day basis. So if you're going to church to have that your day to go and be fed by the word of God, in my opinion, I think that's like a baby Christian. That should be your everyday thing. The church, the church is good as like we all congregate together and it's like a meeting place for Christians.
Okay,
but
what do you do at church?
Serve.
Joshua mops.
But if somebody preaches, then is everyone supposed to just be mopping and cleaning while the guy preaches to? Like,
not everyone.
Walking around.
The guy that's the mopper.
There's
if all of Israel, because what is each one of them doing? They are all serving. Serving who? The Most High God.
Well, I mean, they receive an inheritance, but like really, only the Levites are like have jobs that they're doing to serve. It's like this area of the Gibeonites would be given to Benjamin later, the tribe of Benjamin. Tribe of Benjamin's just chilling, having kids, growing, serving God in the ways that they're supposed to, but they're not like
They cook a lot of lamb.
Like really, the Gibeonites will work for the Levites, the ones that tend to the tabernacle or tend to the temple eventually. They're going to be the ones that like their work, their service that they're subjugated to in this part of the Bible is specifically for the house of God. They're not like just the Israelite slaves. It's very important to note that. So water cutters and water bearers, menial manual tasks that will be
Tree
for
cutters,
the temple.
man.
Wood cutters.
You said water cutters and water bearers.
Did I say water cutters?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is an Avatar.
Yeah. They're not airbenders.
That's pretty cool.
You know what's
Water
cool, though, is what happens in Joshua chapter 10.
Yeah, we were moving on.
In fact, you might say it's crazy what happens in Joshua chapter 10.
It's actually insane.
We're going to end the episode
We're
with
gonna
chapter
end it.
10. And this
What's the
is
title
like,
of this chapter?
It says
defeat
the
of the
sun
Amorite king-
stands still.
Well, it's more insane things than that happen in this. Okay, so remember in the beginning of the last chapter, as we move into chapter 10, there is a coalition of kings that form. There are 5 kings that come together, but they are led by a man named Adonai Zedek, who is the king of Jerusalem. Yes, the Jerusalem that will eventually be Jerusalem. Now, this king of Canaan, the Canaanite city of Jerusalem, he amasses, excuse me, he amasses
Crazy that
5
his name
kings.
is Adonai.
It means Lord of Righteousness is what his name represents. That's literally the meaning of his name. And it's funny because we've seen another king of Jerusalem before. If you remember back in Jeremiah, in Genesis, I got it really excited, so I'm jumbling my words. I'm sorry. But Abraham, after the defeat of the kings and the recovery of Lot, his nephew, he runs into a king of Jerusalem. Who was that? You guys remember?
What?
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek was, and at that time, he was a priest of the Most High God.
Jesus. He was a high priest king
Some people say he was a god, he was Jesus, but he was king of
or Shem.
what's Jerusalem now. So something
I think
happened
he was
along
Shem.
the lines to where that area became indoctrinated with the Canaanite pagan worship and gods, and obviously fell down the hill a little bit. So Adonai Zedek amasses Hoham, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhiah, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, to ally together. And remember how he said specifically they wanted to, once they saw that how the king of Gibeon inhabited and made peace, they feared greatly because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, and was greater than Ai, and all its men were mighty. Remember how we said how this Gibeonite city wasn't like, oh, we need to deceive them because we're scared. They were a strong city, and it was a force to ally themselves with the Israelites. And now they're like, dude, if Gibeon joined with them, and they were already kicking everybody's butt, if we don't join together, we don't have a shot. So seeking to probably find the weaker of the great now allied forces of the Israelites and the Gibeonites, Adonai Zedek and the 4 other kings come together and they attack Gibeon specifically so that they can kind of punish them for allying and try to maybe take over a strong ally from the Israelites at that time. But the Gibeonites, what they do when they see that they're going to be besieged by these 5 kings and this huge army, they send for Joshua and
rescue us, please.
They're literally like, please, your servants, like, do not forsake your servants. Come to us quickly, save us and help us, for the kings of the Amorites who dwell in the mountains have gathered together against us. And now this is a really interesting moment. How I said, I mentioned briefly earlier, Joshua has a moment where he came into a covenant with these people he shouldn't have. And he can't kill them himself, but he could have just kind of let these 5 kings resolve his problem for him. And it would have been a kind of a loophole to kind of resolve the mistake that he made with his people. And it would have been, probably good for him to do that. But because he was a man of honor and because he was a man of his word, it's really crazy. He didn't just rise up to go and help them, but he gets up and he takes all the mighty men of valor with him, the strongest of his people. And as he's going, God actually intercedes. And Nathan, read verse 8.
And the Lord said to Joshua, do not fear them, for I have delivered them into your hand. Not a man of them shall stand before you.
Nice.
Joshua, therefore, came upon them suddenly, having marched all night from Gilgal.
So he marched. He doesn't just get up. He marches all night.
All night.
And what it would have been, if you look at it, it would have been a very hilly area to get back up over there.
Oh, that's
it would have been
terrible.
about 8 to 10 hours of marching through the night. And I can just imagine him as he's marching to go
You're
like,
destroyed.
bro, you're
As
tired.
a backpacker, as someone who not enjoys, but as someone who does.
It's so loud. Is he loud now?
Yeah.
You got so
Doesn't
much
matter.
louder.
Okay, you
Sorry,
guys get
sorry.
loud. As someone who goes backpacking with weight on your back, and I'm assuming these guys had some type of weight. You know, they had their food provisions, they had their armor, they had their swords, they had their spears. And dude, those up and downs, the downs suck more than the ups. But either way, by the time you even do, like, let's say even 10 miles, you're done. You like your calves are burning. When you sit down, you almost can't even stand back up. You're just done. So the fact that these guys were, I mean, obviously it's a whole different time. So these guys were probably really used to walking a lot.
Yeah, they're probably crazy in
They're
shape.
not us.
Yeah, it's not. I've never even been hiking.
You know
with a
how
ruck.
we have cars when we need to go someplace far?
Not even far. It could
Would've been a
like
30-minute
2 minutes
drive.
down the road.
They didn't. Like they're like, oh man, I'm hungry.
I had
Oh wait,
camels.
we have to hunt. Hold on.
Literally.
I'm sure they had
camels.
goats and stuff. Yeah, they had.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody's
The Lord's-
riding a goat.
The Lord speaks.
Not saying eating the goats, like to
Oh.
kill the goat, like like you do with your ducks and your farm animals. You just kill them to eat them.
Cool.
The Lord speaks to Joshua while he's traveling over the night, and he gives him some encouragement, and he tells him, "Do not fear them, for I have delivered them into your hand. Not a man of them shall stand before you."
I just read that.
I know, but I wanted to emphasize that specifically because it's going to be important later.
Oh yeah.
And Joshua then marches through the night with that confidence. And what ends up happening here when he comes upon them after marching there all night is that he goes to war against, and think about it, he had to be, up until this point, leave Jericho, leave King Og of Bashan.
Yeah.
This would have been the greatest military force that Joshua and the Israelites would have come face to face with in a single battle up until this
One
point.
army versus 5 armies.
It's one army versus a combination of 5 kings, all their people, defending people, you know what I mean, a city, after being tired and marching all night. They had reason to be afraid. But what happens is that Joshua did his part. He showed up. He came out to fight. He stood to his word. And God comes out and fights the battle for them. It says that the Lord rooted them before Israel and killed them with great slaughter.
Can we take this? Can we go through this slowly? Because each part of this is just
Oh yeah, we're gonna take so
fantastic.
they chase him down, and what ends up happening is that it says that the Lord, as they were retreating,
You don't have to slow down the way you talk.
as they were
Jesus, what's wrong
retreating,
with- what happened?
Joshua struck them down, or the Lord struck them down at Azekah and Makkedah. And it happened that as they fled before Israel and they were on the descent, the Lord cast down large hailstones from heaven
But
on them.
Joshua asked for this.
No, he didn't
ask for the hailstones.
It's important to note. Right now, they're just in battle. The Israelites are winning the battle so much to where they're sending the people they're fighting against in retreat. And they're running before the Israelites. And God is throwing down hailstones from heaven. And it says that more people are being killed by the hailstones than people that were killed by the Israelites. Now, let's stop here for a second.
Those hailstones were bigger than the ones that hit your Mazda.
First of all, in that region, like a hailstone storm like that would be kind of uncommon, to say the least.
Very uncommon.
But some people could say, okay, it was a natural occurrence, maybe a very lucky one. But
do you know how big this hailstorm was supposed to?
Not only that, but the accuracy of it not hitting the Israelites, but hitting these random other people.
Dude, there are people that are there's certain specialists or whatever. They said that each hailstone was about 100 pounds. So not only were you hit, it was no like David and Goliath where it's like, boom, right, specifically right in the temple, you're done. This was, you got hit by a freaking meteor and you have been obliterated. Done. Gone.
Yeah.
Sayonara.
No, you're crushed. It's instant death. There's no recovery from that. And that's insane. Is that not insane? There's nowhere else in the Bible that I read that something like this happens.
You know where else I see where
God
something
likes
like this
using
happened?
fire.
You know where else?
This time you just wanted to
I actually
crush their heads.
Abraham. Not the fire, but when he goes against the 5 kings, remember that whole story?
Didn't they fall in the pits, or was there hail too? I pulled up other places where God uses
Revelation. Don't they have like hail coming down?
Yeah, no, there's multiple. So hail is actually used by God as like a method to strike down and to like kind of show plagues. It's once mentioned in Job, specifically mentions that God keeps storehouses of snow and hail for the day of distress and the day of warfare and battle. Yeah. That's literally the words used in Job. So God has them on reserve. Like, these are I'm going to kill you with it, hail.
So my question is
a white Christmas snow.
The thing is, what we perceive as hail, is it actually the same type of hail that was in the Bible? You know what I mean? What we see as hail now is just like frozen. It's frozen water, right? That just comes down. There. But what if the hail, like back then, was they called it hail stones. It's basically stones from heaven that fall down.
Yeah, it's hail rocks. But Exodus 9, I remember, if you guys remember, the 7th.
Him saying stones.
Can you wait? Can we go? Can you just?
I'm showing you all the places in the Bible. That
just grasp it for a second.
What?
Rocks, that they're rocks don't fall from heaven. Like it's just, that's not a thing. There is no type of precipitation where a rock ends up in the sky.
Unless it's a meteorite.
It's
exactly. God. I mean, fish have rained from the sky before.
I mean, yeah, God can do a lot of things. Another place in the Bible that talks about hailstone being used to cast down by God is the 7th plague of Egypt, obviously. There are a bunch of places in the Old Testament that refer to God's use of hail in battle, specifically in Psalm 18, 78, 105, 148, Isaiah chapter 28, 30, 32, Ezekiel chapter 13, and then, like Nathan mentioned, Revelation 16, where great hail fell from the heaven upon the earth, the hailstone, and it specifically mentions the weight of a talent, which is, I think, where you got the 100-pound hailstone weight.
No, the talent is like if you're good at guitar, the weight of how good you are at something.
Men actually, the devastation that's referred to in Revelation by the hail is so great that it causes men to blaspheme against God. Like it's such a crazily catastrophic event that it says that people are going to curse God because of how much destruction it brings.
Well, imagine being an Israelite and you're fighting that guy and you're chasing him, and all of a sudden, boom. The fact that, I don't know did any Israelites die from the hail?
No.
That's
God
extreme. Dude, he
no
had snipers.
Him. Dude, could you imagine being an angel and God's like, all right, grab one of them and chunk and see which one you can. They're like competing to see how many they can hit.
He had sharpshooters up there, bro.
Dude, it's probably one of the most insane battle events in the whole Bible.
There's a reason. I mean, remember when Joshua went and he saw the commander of the Lord's army, which we say is Jesus. You notice that after that battle, after that interaction, that it's almost like that alliance that happened. The commander of the Lord's army shows up, and then you have Jericho. all the Israelites have to do is just walk around Jericho. Jericho completely gets destroyed. The unseen realm comes in effect and destroys that city. We have AI. Joshua holds out his spear, and the whole time he holds his spear out, they are conquering and winning. You have the unseen realm again. Now you have this battle where it's just complete mayhem, but we have once again the unseen realm, basically the Lord's army coming and fighting the battle.
Yeah. That's
ever since that interaction with the commander of the Lord's army. Almost like
before then, it started back at the beginning of the book, before they entered into the promised land. Remember when God commanded that the ark should go out before them 1,000 yards so they can see?
Yeah.
God was already planting in their mind the fact that I am going to be the one that fights for you. I am going to be the one that brings the victory. You know what I mean? It's that, you're right. And it's brought even from before then. And now let me build this picture here.
Okay. Before you build the picture.
Yeah, go.
Remember earlier as in earlier episodes, when we were talking about Abraham, when we were talking about the Lord of the Rings. Now there's a movie called Battle of the Five Armies. Now, what if the Battle of the Five Armies movie, instead of the whole Abraham thing, what if
it's not called Battle of the Five Armies?
Yeah, there is.
Is that
Look
a
it up?
Hobbit movie?
There's not a movie called Battle of the Five Armies.
Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies. My bad. Okay, it's still kind of Lord of the Rings world.
Fact checked you,
but it's Hobbit.
Who cares?
What do you mean? Who cares? No,
continue.
Sorry,
just go on because this is already
the plot of the movie was the Five Armies.
Yes, you got five armies coming to battle against the bad guys.
Yeah, Battle of the Five Armies. He's not wrong.
The bad guys were going on a campaign. Movies. They're going on a campaign to destroy each place, and where do they meet up at where the mountain is, and they fight the city, and that's where the battle happens in front of this mountain. Now these Amorites, who were the guys that were basically from the mountains, the Amorites,
the coalition of kings, they were from the mountains.
They were from the mountains, and in other words, the Hobbit movie could have been a portrayal of the Israelites as the bad guys, as the guys from far away, the monsters that they are teaching us to see them as. You know what I mean?
You're trying to say George R. Tolkien was not George, but
yeah, it's the same thing. Like
it's
the same thing like with Marvel, where all the heroes were actually Nephilim, fallen angels coming down.
A lot of
they're teaching us to see light as they're like not good as bad and bad as good.
A lot of what J.R.R. Tolkien took inspiration from was from the Bible.
From the Bible, yes.
He didn't use the Israelites as like the bad ones, though. But that's true.
But where do you see five armies gathering together to? Where do you see that?
I mean, in history, it happens quite often.
Yeah, but if he used the Bible,
but again, he used the Bible, and then I don't know if they're good. I don't know anything about the story. I never watched it or read the books, so I have no idea. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Gandalf,
except for the fact that there's
always smoking pot. I mean, that's like your first negative sign right there. It was a Christian movie, but the main character is always on drugs.
Why are we talking about the Hobbit?
He just wanted to interrupt. You already had your introduction story. That was unnecessary.
Why do we talk about the Hobbit? Just because it has the five armies in the title?
Yes, that's why. Because he had to mention that there was five armies and that there was. Except,
he's trying to say that they're demonic. Because he's making it look, and then Disney's also demonic.
Okay, let me add more to.
This is too important of a part.
I'm going to kick you in the head.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Let me add more to this. When the Israelites were brought out of Egypt, what did they say they were brought out of Egypt as? They were brought out of Egypt on eagle's wings. Okay. In the movie, what comes through? These giant eagles throwing boulders at the bad guys.
We're not debating that.
What movie? The Hobbit one?
Yes.
We're not debating whether there was
You're looking
biblical
at me
influence.
crazy. What movie? Is it still the Hobbit movie?
Well, technically,
I haven't seen that movie.
The eagles kind of fly them back at the end of the Lord of the
I
Rings
thought that's
too,
the
from Mordor.
But I
don't
thought the Eagles.
Yeah,
the
but they
Lord
also
of the
come
Rings,
in and they're throwing.
they literally
stuff
fly
and
them back home
They're throwing
on the wings of eagles.
Yeah.
on the wings of eagles.
And what is your point?
The Israelites were brought out of Egypt on the wings of eagles. It says it in the Bible. And now,
I don't care.
with the Battle of the Five Armies, rocks are falling from heaven. But in the movie, the eagles were dropping rocks on the bad guys, which were actually
okay, dude. What is the point of this? Stop.
I'm trying to give you guys similarities between the movie and the Bible, the actual story. That
Thank you for the visual cues.
He's not wrong though. They're there. But it's like, why?
Whatever.
They are there. I get it.
Because all of Hollywood
is
awful.
Lord,
is awful.
Hollywood didn't exist when he wrote the book The Hobbit.
Didn't it?
Not in the way we have today. It wasn't controlled
Remember in
by
the Rescuers Down Under? That kid rides an eagle.
The devil is the Lord of entertainment. In other words, he controls it. Okay,
Who
That's
does?
what I'm trying to
This
say.
was such a climactic part of the story. This was so
Satan.
good. We had such momentum.
Controls Disney?
Controls all of entertainment. He had that's his field.
I mean, I don't disagree with you there. In a lot of ways, yes.
Mock me all you want, but
Nobody was mocking you. I'm trying to figure out the point.
Nobody's mocking.
I
wasn't
feel
mocking you.
mocked.
Why?
We're just like, why mention it? That's the only we said.
He's trying to say that they took the story of the Bible that is one of God's great. So let me say his point for him. What the devil does all the time is he tries to take these glorious parts of victory for God, for his chosen people, and the devil twists it and then makes it a popular movie for the masses, twists it and perverts it and makes it seem like, God, and tries to take the glory away from God, because that's what the devil always tries to do. Undermines and underhands and always uses the same kind of stories from the biblical perspective and then twists it and perverts it, just like Superman with the Jesus thing and, all that stuff. Like, essentially, that's what he's trying to say. Yeah, Superman's obviously Jesus. Like, you can't see that. Right. Last son, you were sent there to save them, son. Like, come on.
Okay. I mean, when you say it like that.
Do me a favor. This next Avengers movie, Doomsday, look at all the little cues and hints in there.
I'm like, after the Infinity War thing, I don't even know which way to watch the Marvel movies. I try to look on Disney Plus. They don't even have places organized anymore. It's just like all jumbled. I don't know what the movies are in order.
There is an order. First you got to watch the.
I don't know. Let's not talk about it.
I am getting angrier and angrier. I was looking forward to this so much.
All right. So
hailstones from
heaven.
No,
stop. Let me rebuild the picture.
Heaven. No, we already built it, dude.
Let me rebuild the picture.
Can we get to the sun standing still?
Can I?
You guys keep talking about the hailstones for an hour.
I'm going to get to it.
Okay.
All right. So you have the hailstones from heaven. No, I'm just playing. So you have this moment where God is working in a miraculous way, in a way that they've never seen before. You got to think about Joshua in the heat of this moment, in pursuit of a greatest enemy they've ever seen before up until this point. And they're winning and they're having the victory. I wanted to get behind why he would ask such a bold thing. And he says that he looked over and said before all the children of Israel in the sight of Israel, and said,
sun stand still over Gibeon and moon in the valley of Aijalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped. So the people had revenge upon their enemies.
Why would he ask something like that?
Because he won.
Why, in other words, why would God heed him? Because it says later that, and there has never been a day like that before or after it, that the Lord heeded the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel.
I think the fire,
God listened to his...
The fire was so built up in Joshua, I'm talking about like the fire of faith. He had so much adrenaline in God. In other words, that
It's kind of like what you were saying earlier, like that emotion just boiled over at that point.
The emotional response, but also connected with like the radical fire of God at the same time, where he knew that he could say anything, and because he had the faith probably larger than a mustard seed at that moment, he knew that God would actually do it. So he said it, knowing that God would do it. So that I don't know, like maybe he didn't want God to do everything. Maybe he's like, I need to. The Israelites, these people, we want to be a part in the defeating these armies. God, don't do it all yourself. Let us do our little part. So God stopped it. And that's even scarier. Imagine being just like, you don't know what just happened. You're looking up your buddy, Jebediah just got killed by a 100-pound meteor right next to you. Now the sun has completely stopped. Not just stopped. It's more like time froze. Okay. Like time legit stopped at this point. So dude, did they if time stopped, did they also freeze? Was this like a whole click type of thing where it's just like boop, pause?
Well, how did it happen? Some people are like, did the sun actually stand still, or did it just appear as that it stood still and it just seemed like it was longer? Was it God's presence just there so bright that it looked like sun? Because I mean, literally in Revelation tells us that one day that we won't need sun because God's presence, the presence of Jesus, our King, will be the light for the rest of the world. So maybe God was there so present in that moment, fighting the victory for them, that he literally shone, and it literally, like, even though time passed, they couldn't perceive it because God's glory was there so bright. Or it could have been like, a comet that was so strong that it literally bent the perception of the axis of the world, like some people believe. And there's literally like recorded by some Native Americans way back in the day that you can find that they record like an extra long night that they didn't experience before. Like it was just never happened before in the human history. There's things you can look up to see, like things that correlated with the same time frame. But there's a reason why I believe, from reading and thinking about Joshua and what's going on here, that God heeded his voice, because God doesn't just work at the command of a man. He doesn't just do things that are snap. There's a reason why God works signs and miracles.
This
and why
was
he
like in
interacts
the
in your life.
morning.
This was, I mean, this is after the battle. So you got to think about it. It's like that moment.
Wait, this would kind of make sense, because have you ever woken up or like got up in the morning and it's like super still kind of early, and you can see the sun and you can still see the moon at the same time? You know what I'm talking about? Where you could still see both. What if this was like one of those times where Joshua saw both the sun and the moon and they just stopped?
I don't think it was that early in the morning, because the way I kind of perceive the moment is like Joshua's so enthralled in the moment and the momentum is happening that he doesn't want to lose the battle to the end of the day. So they had been fighting for a long time up until that point. Yeah, and that's why he's like, I don't want it to get night. And then they usually might have stopped and they would have dwindled. He's like, they're on the ropes. I want to finally finish this. God, if you could just hold the sun there, hold off the moon from coming. We're almost there. And when Joshua asks in that way, God heeded him, because God was there. Joshua was there asking something he's asking something that was in alignment with the words and promises of God. He was working towards, they were united in a similar purpose.
There was a great revenge happening.
He wanted to kill them all.
Yeah, all of
he
them.
really wanted to kill them all.
Not only did Joshua want it, God really wanted it too. He wanted to make sure that they were all,
because they attacked Israel.
Well, this is also the first time that you see. No, actually, this isn't the first time, but in the Promised Land, it's the first time that they were not on the offensive, that they were responding to an attack, right? Most of the time they were attacking Jericho. They were attacking Ai. I think in before they crossed the river, right? Og and Bashan attacked them.
Weren't the Amorites? the Amorites were also the same guys that when Moses was traveling, weren't they the same ones that would like go behind and kill all the stragglers and like rob
No, that
them?
was the Amalekites.
Oh, the
That was
Amalekites.
Yeah, that's
You know what I like to
Still
imagine? You know what I like to imagine? That when Joshua yelled out, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Elishon," so the sun stood. I imagine that everybody heard that, like for some reason, it like
They did.
echoed. It echoed to everybody, and everybody was like, "There's already stones falling from the sky, dude."
It echoes like there was like a microphone.
Did you hear that? He's all the way. I don't even see the guy.
It says it that he said it in the sight of all of, like, why did it mention that unless that did happen? You know what I mean? And he says it like, is this not, he's like, this is so unbelievable. Don't take my word for it. Is it not written also in this other source called the Book of Jasher? Like, you know, that's,
Which
And then,
we
you know,
refer-
Jasher don't lie, dude. I know Jasher. He's a reliable source.
he's a reliable secondary source. But it's like, you don't believe me that this happened? Read about it, because other people saw it happen, and it happened for sure.
It's almost like it's grandpa telling everybody, "It happened. I
What
was
the fuck
there.
is Jasher?
And you need to know."
Could it have been like Joshua?
I don't know.
Like
Jasher?
Josh sounds the
Just
same.
Joshua under a
Is
surname.
it- yeah, it's Joshua.
Do you believe
with the
me?
disguise.
Do you believe this other guy named
He has a different shaped mustache on his beard.
Let's look it up.
I'm not Joshua. Joshua's mustache is this way, and mine is
My
down.
name's Jash.
It's
Oh,
mentioned in the
my
Bible.
gosh.
It's law. It's mostly law. We don't have the Book of Joshua, but
Jasher.
nobody knows the single author.
Jasher.
So it could have been Joshua. It could have been Joshua. There was a guy who wrote a book. I kick up Emmanuel Velikovsky. He's the one that offered the idea of the tilting of the axis that could produce a visual effect of regressing or resting sun.
Nothing makes me happier than when people try to like explain a miracle of God by saying, "Oh, like a phenomenon occurring."
Yeah.
Here's what happened: God kept the sun still. That's what happened. It doesn't have to be some. Oh well, we have records of no, bro. He kept it still, just like Noah. That ark that's not big enough to hold all those animals. Guess what?
Interdimensional.
It helped. No, you can say whatever
No,
you want.
I just
it
remember
held
that.
all the animals.
I had
It's a
never heard
dimensional
that until
shift.
that point. That's why every time I think about that now, I can't.
Do you
unthink
want to
that.
know something crazy about the interdimensional stuff with the ark?
What?
I'm not even making this up. Literally, I was listening and I was watching also a documentary. So the new UFO, whatever, what they're trying to say is that some of these ships, they're really tiny, and you go inside of it, and they're super large on the inside.
Oh
'cause they're
yes,
like
I
in a
have
different,
heard this.
Yeah. So that's not.
That's crazy. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I just did, and I was like, that's what we said on Noah.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've always thought. Because to me, it's like,
Why not?
The way God does miracles and the miraculous doesn't make sense to us. It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't play, like we assume
Oh,
that God
you're
plays
right.
within the rules of physics. He doesn't have to. He's us. Like when we play checker or chess, right? We could stand up and put all the things in the box and close the box, fold the box, do whatever. We could break the box into pieces. It's fine. It's how God is. God doesn't, he laughs at our like, look at our, algorithm, and look at his sister, and he's like smiling, like, oh, for real?
I mean, how do you
Your
explain
algorithm?
How do you explain the fish falling from the sky?
Well, the
You
fish
can't.
farm, there is an explanation for that, because if there's like a tornado and over a lake and it goes up in the fish.
No.
if
God
they're
has
in the air
God
for a
has a
while.
storehouse of fish, because also when Jesus was feeding the 5,000, he fed them with a never-ending bucket of fish.
I can't refute
I
you.
don't
It
think-
sounds wrong, but I can't say no. So
I don't think
that's not-
fish were falling from the sky into that bucket.
Bad, Josh.
Just kept going into the bucket. Nobody saw the fish.
I hate that
You
makes
think when
sense.
Jesus was just flying around with the bucket upside down, just
No.
like, this is my
No,
bucket.
it was like
This is my
Mary
bucket.
Poppins. He reaches into her bag. It's just fish. It's just a bag.
No,
for
not
extra
only
fish.
fish, cooked fish too.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know it was cooked?
Somehow it got cooked on the way down. Maybe
There was
lightning
bread.
struck it.
There was also bread.
Seasoned and cooked.
Wow.
Well, bread is easy. That's mana, right?
Well,
I guess.
that's
With
stuff, I
saltwater
guess.
fish, are they already salty?
That's a good question.
That's a really
you
good
know-
question.
You know what?
I hate that you're making me think about that.
That was a really good one. I really enjoyed that question. I have a bunch of notes here on Earth is flat and Earth is round, and it's only because I got into an argument. We don't have to get into it. I don't think we have time, but this was one of the passages used by flat earthers. Like, see, the sun goes around because he held the sun in the sky. It was. Let me ask you this: if that's what you think, that because of this passage that the world is flat, why do we say sun up and sun down? Maybe it's just because that's what they perceived from the ground, and that's how we use our words. It's not doesn't denote the fact that the earth is flat because it says that here. Because there are plenty of passages that describe the world as round, such as Job chapter 26 verse 10 inscribes the circles of the waters. Isaiah 24:22 says, "He who sits above the circles of the earth." Proverbs tells us, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set the compass upon the faces of the deep. Compass is a circular, rounded face. Now, yeah, you're going to say, what about the passage in Job where
Revelation
he says from the
7:1?
four corners? Yeah, promotes the, talking about
Isaiah
the corners of the
11:12.
I have that in my notes too.
Ezekiel 7:2.
I don't have that one, but I'm pretty sure I read it. There's just as many verses to promote round earth as there is if you want to argue flat earth. But this is not that. This is the perception that he had from the earth. He spoke the way he saw it, and it doesn't mean that the earth is
dome.
flat.
It's not flat, but it's also not a full circle. It's in the middle.
You're in between. It's like a snow globe.
Anyway, let's continue because
It's a snow globe, right? That's a dome.
No, yeah, that's exactly what. Why do you think? Why do you think a snow globe exists? Because God gave it to us as a representation.
We're done. We're moving on. I'm finishing the chapter.
Hallmark
After the defeat of their
is
armies,
actually God.
these 5 kings fled and they hid themselves.
Why do you think
in
Santa
the
Claus gave a snow globe?
You gotta let me finish it. You gotta let me.
Sorry,
We're not doing it.
Continue.
The 5 Amorite kings hid in the cave of Makeda. And when Joshua
they
found
survived.
them,
They survived.
found it, and they went to hide in a cave. And Joshua said, "Roll large stone in front of the mouth of the cave and guard it, and stay there." And left them there. And then sent the rest of the people, go finish killing everybody. We'll come back to them later. Don't let them get out. So he caught them there. And when he came back and found them, what he does is that he brings out the kings from the cave. He says, "Come out." And he calls the captains of the men of the war. And he says, "Come and put your feet on the necks of these kings." And when they do that, he says, "Do not be afraid nor dismayed, but be strong and of good courage, for thus the Lord will do with all your enemies of whom you fight." And that's such a beautiful moment that Joshua, who at one point was told to be strong and of good courage, is now, as the leader, turning to the captains of his armies and encouraging them in the way that he was encouraged, showing them that, look, you won. With God on your side, you're now king conquerors. You have defeated nations. You have defeated land, city-states. You've taken way bigger armies on than you ever have before, and you're victorious. And then Joshua kills them and hangs their body until then.
Did he have to have them have their feet on their necks while he killed them?
Yeah, he did.
Dude, I got
no, because
they were. You know why?
He brought them out.
You know why? Because doing that implicates Joshua as now it's like an act of faith. Originally, most of the time when you win against an army, you usually don't kill the king. The ones that are in charge, there's some type of defeat. You send them back with their, you take over, you conquer them as vassals. It was in good faith not to kill the commander or the king of the army that
because
you're defeating.
It's the same thing that applies to you. If you're going and attacking, and if you lose, you don't want the other king
warfare.
killing you because there's a mutual respect. But now there's no turning back for Israel.
But if they lose, Joshua being the one that killed the kings, he would be the one that they want to kill. He's the leader.
Yeah.
And it's like saying I don't care. I'm putting it on my head because I know I'm going to be the last one that stands here at the end because I got God on my side. So that's kind of why he killed them.
It's 5 kings versus no king. That's crazy.
It's funny that he, again, hangs them until the evening and then takes their bodies. And then this time he throws them in the cave. And then again, large stone against the cave's mouth and then laid, a lot of large stones on the caves. Now, Adonai Zedek, one thing I wanted to mention really quick. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I want you guys who are listening, and you guys can look this up later. He's kind of like a prototype for the Antichrist, just because of like who he is. He kind of was someone who stood in Israel or in Jerusalem as a fake king with the name of Lord of Righteousness, who amassed the nations of the world to fight against the people of Israel. And it says that in those last days that after he's defeated, that the nations and the kings will flee into the caves. It's like there's a lot of allusions and connections there, that he's like one of the first signs of like what an Antichrist like figure, or that
he was a descendant of
Melchizedek, if you believe that Melchizedek was a man that was a king of Jerusalem. Yeah. But it's just a lot of that kind of ties together. So I wanted to mention that briefly, but chapter 10 ends with
Hobbit. Okay.
Chapter 10 ends with kind of just a summary of like the momentum that's built off of that day, takes them onto like, just imagine a montage in a movie of them just going from place to place, winning battle after battle. And they continue the conquering of the southern land. So now they have the central land, and they're going to conquer Makeda. They're going to conquer
Makeda, Libnah, Lachish, and Gezer, Eglon, Hebron, and of course the Burr.
I can't believe that actually worked. Those are the names of the cities that he defeats, and those kings were defeated. Every single one of them, they're captured, defeated. The inhabitants are destroyed,
struck with the edge
captured,
of the sword.
and kings are defeated. You know, it's just they completely conquer now the southern part and the central part. They're in one of the strongest positions possible. Really, nobody can stand against them. And in the next episode, we're going to cover the conquering, the last part of the nation or the area of Canaan to conquer is the northern lands. Before we get into how they're going to, dissect the land and give it out as inheritances to certain tribes. But that ends chapter 10, and probably one of the craziest chapters of the Bible up until this point.
Imagine returning from war, from like this great campaign, and kind of only losing 36 guys total.
And they were like,
kind of what happened.
They lost them to a flu.
They were like,
no. They only lost them to like the retreat of AI, but other than that, that's it.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we've covered some crazy fighting and battles.
That sounds like God's chosen people right there.
This is like the most action-packed episode I think we've had.
Kind of how America's God's chosen country today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, guys. I got patriotic there.
It's okay. I forgive you. So the greater meaning, right?
Oh, yeah. We still got to do that.
Of death.
All right, Andrew, go. Your turn.
Yeah. Battles are won by the... I'm just kidding.
God will kill you if you attack Israel.
My greater meaning for this episode... my greater meaning for this episode has to go to the portion of when the sun is standing still. I kind of spoke about it a little bit while we were getting lost in the sauce, but Joshua, in that heat of the moment, with the momentum of God destroying the enemies before him, he calls out boldly and asks for the sun to stand still. And he sees that the enemy's on the ropes and he doesn't want the time to run out. And it's like, why did God heed him in that special way? And this idea that when God works in your life, when you call God to work a miraculous thing, the reason that Joshua was heated in that moment is because Joshua was asking something that was in alignment with the will of God. He was asking something that was based upon the promise that God had already given him, saying, do not fear them, for I've already delivered them into your hands. And Joshua is looking at this moment. He's seeing that God is fighting with him. He's in unity with the purpose of God. And he sees that if you would just do this, your word, your promise could come to pass in that moment. And so when you in your life take everything that's going on around you, and you look at it and you see that you're in alignment with God's purpose, he's there with you, and you have that confidence to ask something miraculous of him, you'll see that he heeds that in that moment. That's why God answers miraculous prayers, because you're asking them in his will. A lot of people forget that you're supposed to be in his will when you ask for the impossible. Jesus, everything that he did, every sign and miracle that he performed was in alignment with the will of the Father. And we now in the new covenant, living in the blood of Jesus Christ, in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, live in alignment with the will of God when we're walking underneath that blood. And so that whatever we ask in his name, it will be given to us when we ask according to his will. So that's my greater meaning.
Josh.
You took it all.
I took one part of like 3 crazy chapters. What are you talking about?
I know. My greater meaning would probably be with the Gibeonites and with the Joshua interaction. A lot of times in our lives, we what?
It just gets loud, but like unbearably.
You got so loud for no reason.
No, whatever. A lot of times in our lives, choices and things come up where we have to make decisions, and because we go on our own feelings and we're not going to them with God, with the advice of God, we're not going to God with our problems beforehand, and we're just choosing to do it because we think, you know what, God put me in this position for a reason. I should be able to make this decision, no problem. But we forget that God is the one that put you in that position. So it's only right and fair to say that with every decision that is major and that you need to make, that you should go to God with the question so that he can give you the answer. God's not gonna, he's not gonna, like, if you need to go to the bathroom, you don't need to go to ask God, can I go to the bathroom? There's some common sense questions, but then there's the big ones. When Gibeon comes to Joshua and decides to make this treaty, Joshua should have gone to God and asked him, not just done it out of his own accord. And it's the same thing with us. We should not, out of our own accord, drawn by emotion, because the devil and the enemy can be very sneaky and will know how to pull on our heartstrings. And if we are not careful, he'll get us. He'll get us to sign a 50-year mortgage just because that house looks really nice. Or he'll get us to sign a 29% interest rate on a car that you've always wanted, but you know you can't afford, just because the salesman told you could definitely walk out with this car today if you just sign these papers. Go to God for wisdom. Don't fall for the salesman. That's all I gotta say. Salesmen are the bad guys.
Yeah, I feel like that was targeted, but I get you. I understand. That was a good greater meaning. Nathan?
So my greater meaning, it's going to harken back into a kind
Trusting
of a point I was
salesman.
making earlier with the sun standing still and people trying to like explain away a lot of the miracles that God does in the Bible. They try to like have a like, oh, the sea parted for Moses because something happened up the river or something dumb like that. Look,
I'm looking.
we believe in a God that can do miracles, right? We believe in a Jesus that healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, that he delivered the demon possessed. You can't. Jesus healed so many people in the Bible. It wasn't like, oh, well, they got good because of their chemotherapy. No, man. There's no explanation to it. It's God could do the impossible, right? God can make the sun stand still. God can help, it could cause you to walk on water. Peter walked on the water just simply because he saw Jesus walking on the water. And he was so like faithful in that moment that he jumped out and walked on it as well. People forget about that part. And he started sinking when he started realizing, oh man, I'm walking on water. This is crazy. And then he started to sink at that point, and Jesus had to, kind of help him out. I'm saying that to say this, a lot of people, they tend to go to and pray to God for miraculous things that happen in their life because maybe they're dealing with a situation they just don't see the end of, or they have a sickness or or they're just, life is tough, right? And you're like, I need a miracle. And everybody loves the God of miracles, right? But do you really believe a miracle will happen? Or have you allowed all the cynicism you have in your heart, which we all are cynics, all the cynicism you've encountered in your day-to-day life to overtake that faith, right? They say faith of a mustard seed, and everybody says that the illusion that a mustard seed, the smallest seed and it grows a big tree. But you have to believe in the miracle for real, though. You can't allow that doubt. And I say this to our family a lot of times before we have like prayer. You have to be a delusional person in your faith. You have to have a delusional faith in God and the works of God. It has to be something that's kind of like, what is that? This dude's lost it. You have to lose that whole sense of reality when it comes to, if you want God to work the impossible in your life. Because I have seen it with my own eyes. I have witnessed with my own eyes impossible things that God has done. I know people that have been healed of cancer, and I'm not making this up. I know people that literally, when they were praying for somebody in a hospital, they go into a hospital room and they're screaming loud praying, and nobody hears them praying in a hospital. It's like a miracle. It's like nobody heard them praying loudly. I have seen miracles firsthand. These things are not, this is not just stories in the Bible and that you take. It's like, oh, it's a philosophical story and therefore it's no, these are not just lessons. These are actual descriptions of events that happened. The sun did stand still because God made it stand still. You can't explain it any simple way. And guess what? There was also another crazy miracle that happened. There was a guy that was born of a virgin because God made that happen, because it was God that was born of a virgin that died and came back from death. Nobody brought them back. It wasn't like a necromancer. No, they came back from the dead after 3 days. Another miracle. And it's the miracle to end all miracles, because through that miracle, we are all saved and we have eternal salvation. So you cannot say that you believe in Christ, because you have to believe in the most delusional miracle right there to gain that salvation. So if you could believe in that, trust me, you could believe in the impossible that God wants to work in your life. That's my greater meaning.
Phenomenal greater meaning, Nathan. Thank you very much. And that concludes Joshua Part 3. And I like that you wore yellow today to match the sun.
No,
I
Nathan,
look like the sun because I'm bald.
your greater meaning was, definitely. God created the laws and the rules of life.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever God does a miracle or does something like that, like we see it as this, oh my gosh, some crazy thing. But all it is just God the miracles are God breaking the rules that he made. You get what I'm saying? Like, he made the rules of life, and then it's like he has his cheat code, not even cheat codes. He's just breaking the rules. That's all it is. It's really not, it's not that God.
I mean, he's the programmer. He can reprogram any way he wants.
Exactly. Like, it's very simple for him to do.
And there you have it. That was a phenomenal episode, boys. Stay tuned next time. All you guys out there listening, if you feel like we've missed something or you want to give us your greater meaning, always feel free to email us at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. That's greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear and you want to support us and help us grow, give us that 5-star review, like, subscribe, follow, share us with your friends, follow us on all social media platforms, and can't wait to see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Watch our things on TikTok.
Yeah, watch that.
YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all of it. Give us a follow.
All right, guys. All right, have a good night or a good day,
Battle of the 5
whatever it is for you.